Story 1. Discovered my wife of 13 years has been unfaithful. I'm deeply hurt. I, male, 39, found my wife, 37, cheating on me. We've been married for 13 years and have 2 girls together, 7-year-old twins. I've known for a while things weren't right. We haven't had sex for around 8 to 9 months. At first, every time I would come onto her she'd push me away and say she wasn't in the mood right now. After a while I mentioned this to her and it turned into a huge argument in which she flat out told me she didn't want to have sex with me anymore. I was initially devastated but kind of brushed it off as something she said simply out of anger. I had believed she wasn't having sex with me because she was too stressed to orgasm. She'd done this previously. A couple weeks later though, I found her second phone. Although I wasn't able to get into it because it had a password, I knew at that moment that there was someone else. It broke my heart but I didn't bring it up with her. In the following weeks I became extremely suspicious. Especially since she works from home and I do not. I started lying to her about when I had work so that I could see if she was having another guy over. Days later a silver Benz pulls into our driveway. Around 10 minutes later my wife gets in. I couldn't see the other person because of the tints. They drove off to what I later found out was a hibachi restaurant. I didn't follow the car like I had planned on. After I saw her get into the car I couldn't even bring myself to drive. I sat there and just cried. I cried in the car until they pulled back up. The car sat parked for a few minutes in my driveway and I walked up and opened the driver's door. I want to say this, I've always been a person who thought it was stupid to get mad at the Mr/Mistress when it was your partner that cheated, but I didn't know how to react and in a cloud of anger I pulled the driver out of the car, ready to fight. Then I realized that it was a girl. It didn't click for me at that moment. I just stood there confused. My wife was screaming at me to stop and she got out of the car and immediately started crying and apologizing to me. I pulled my wife inside of the house and made her explain things. She basically told me she was gay and she was going to tell me but she didn't know how to / she was too ashamed to. Every time I tried to ask about the mistress she started deflecting my questions and pretty much said it's not important. I told her I knew about the second phone she had and asked to go through it. She got extremely defensive and said no. Things got loud and ugly very fast. It was a lot of screaming and crying and I will admit we both put our hands on each other. I ended up getting the second phone from under her nightstand and she attacked me. I grabbed her by her neck and told her to open the phone or I would tell her family she's been cheating on me with a woman. For some context, her family is extremely conservative and does not support or allow that in the family. Which is why I did understand why she'd be afraid to tell me, but that does not excuse leading me on, lying, and cheating on me. She gave me the password when I started calling her dad from my phone. I sat going through her phone for almost 2.5 hours. To keep things short, she was messing around with a 19-year-old girl named Dallas. Yes, she cheated on me with a teenager. I asked her when they met and she said a year ago, but I actually found Instagram messages between them from 2019, meaning she's known this girl since she was at least 15. They sent each other nudes pretty often. But what hurt the most were the messages where they'd be planning to meet up. My wife would literally just send this girl a photo of my schedule. And oddly enough, that hurt way worse than all the nudes and all the dirty talk. In messages from earlier this year they talked about how she was going to tell me everything, and how they were going to get married after Dallas had graduated. The photos were even worse. 70% of the gallery was nudes. There were videos of them doing sexual things in MY house, in MY bed. There were photos of this girl with my kids at bowling alleys, malls, skating rinks, parks, you name it. She was even with my kids when I went away to see my sick mother back in February. A couple hours later, things start to simmer down. I told her to leave the house because I couldn't look at her face anymore. She called Dallas to pick her up and over the next few weeks she moved in with her. We've been separated since April but aren't divorced yet. Her family has no clue about any of this as I've made an agreement with her. As long as she doesn't allow her GF around my kids I wouldn't tell her family. We have been recently trying to get a divorce and do it as smoothly as possible. Like I said before, I don't want my kids around her girlfriend, but I brought her up around them and it's clear that they really like her. I can't tell them what happened without making my wife look like a villain, so now my kids think I'm the villain. It also doesn't help that Dallas is doing pretty well for herself. We are very different PPL. I'm a white guy who grew up pretty poor and worked for everything I have. She's biracial with a BLK mom and white dad and all she's ever known is money. I'm not sure what she does for a living, but I do know her and her family are very wealthy people. She often buys my girls toys and things they ask for, which is why I believe they gravitate to her. I don't like it. I don't like her. And I wish she would just go away. I wish I could just have my family back. Even though it was my wife that cheated, it feels like everything is Dallas' fault. I wish my wife would have never met her. Sorry for the length of this. I just need a place to vent. Story 2, cheating. I really hate to be making this post while hiding in my bathroom, but I don't know what else to do. I'm beyond upset, dizzy, nauseous, and everything else you would feel at this moment. So, my boyfriend, male 21, and I, female, 19, have been together for a little over a year and have been extremely happy and want to spend our whole lives together. We have a car and an apartment together with all of our pets in my hometown, and it's wonderful. Now, my boyfriend isn't usually sneaky or anything, but for the past month he's just been really odd. Hiding his phone, swiping away tabs the moment I step into the room or near him, locking the door when he takes a bath, always taking drives by himself, etc. I thought this was all weird, but when I would look at his phone, there was nothing evident of cheating. So everything was fine until about 2 days ago. My anxiety can get bad about cheating since it's happened before and we have boundaries about checking each other's phones. I was kinda lazily searching through his phone and stumbled across a Google account I didn't recognize, so I was kinda like, oh okay. I check and there's an Instagram attached to it. This is where it all goes downhill. So I log into the Instagram and I'm immediately bombarded with around 10 to 15 chats with different people, only 3 I really recognize, and I was like, oh fuck. So the top 2 chats have like 3+ unread messages, so I decided to check those first. Worst idea ever. Person A, let's call her Sarah, is texting him about how much she misses him and how hot he is, etc. I scroll up and they had been talking for a month. Sexual, non-sexual, the whole 9 yards. I just about threw up. Then I realized, oh, she lives in my town. He didn't grow up here, just moved here last month. She was begging him to meet up, asking him to meet her parents, etc. Then I also realized, holy shit, this girl's mom was my mom's best friend when I was young. I grew up with Sarah. At this point, I had noticed they had exchanged pictures, IQM. So I was done with this chat. Moving to the next one, this time it was a guy, let's call him Dan. Dan and my BF had an extremely emotional relationship. Calling each other boyfriends, pretty boy, etc. This time I actually threw up. Those are for me and him, not someone else. I didn't go too far in Dan's chat, but it was mainly emotional, less sexual. There were a few other chats, about 2 to 3 of him trying to flirt and the others turning him down, and the rest of the chats were message requests to various people, with messages along the lines of, you're cute, you're hot, etc. One message including my ex-friend. I guess he didn't know, but anyway. To add to this, in the texts with other people, he was calling me his ex and kinda shitting on me and how I act. My boyfriend didn't handle me figuring out very well and it turned into a pretty bad argument. I hate confrontation, so I eventually backed down and called for a new relationship, a start over, YK. That's been working pretty well so far, but I had him block everyone and send them a message about, oh this was just for attention, blah blah blah. I saw the message he sent to Sarah, but not to Dan, and then he promptly deleted the messages, but the Instagram remains undelete. I'm really stuck and struggling right now. What do I do? I love him more than anything and he says he just did it because I wasn't giving him enough attention. Am I stupid? Story 3, I'm sick and tired of this marriage. In the eyes of my husband, 35, he is the perfect man. Doesn't drink much, earns a good amount of money, always at home, would never cheat, cares for his loved one's health. And that is one way to put a prescription drug abusing man with a teenage boy's temper and an 80-year-old stick who sleeps through the whole day never lifting a finger to help but is sure to know more about anything more than every single person on this earth. I hate waking up each day worrying about him creating a whole new series of fights and drama, and I hate to find him snoring in the living room when I get back from walking the dog after a 9-hour workday every day. I hate that even at the best of times, he finds something to bicker about. I hate that all our friends and employees constantly complain about his lack of attitude, bad memory, and temper to me. I hate that every solution tried ends up becoming another issue. I have tried countless things. I have tried softly speaking, the I language, the lightly approaching the subject, madly responding to his madness. Lastly, I pressed for therapy, which did far worse damage than all else. Claiming he knew better and that the couple's Xanaxes was all he needed, he quickly stopped going to sessions. He didn't made it to third, I think. This was 1.5 years ago. Then he started deciding on the dose and type of medicine he needed: X of this to calm down, Y of this to wake up, Z of this for my pain. Does varicoses and hemorrhoids require opioids? Then one night, which was supposed to be a small get-together with a couple friends at our yard, and he had a couple drinks in when he started talking about how he came from dirt and smelled the worms, seeming mad. Then the next morning he sort of opened up about some pills affecting him. We talked about him slowly quitting it over 10 to 15 days to not get any more side effects, and I believe he was off them for a while. I mean, he was still throwing tantrums and all that, but you could tell he had a clear mind. Then for the past month, it's a shit show. Most of the time he is either sleeping or when he is awake he is super mad, immediately followed by a lovely calm person only to be triggered seconds later again, and while all that is happening he is not sticking to the subject. He'd be arguing about why his gummy bears are done while yelling that he is a man managing people. I have seen him fall asleep while chewing in 3 different occasions, and he told me to leave him alone to eat and that he was fine, with his eyes closed, crumbs falling out of his mouth. But this past week was even worse. I like heated pools, so for my birthday he got us a rental home for 3 days. You know what happened. Mil and her nurses, Mil has Alzheimer's and lives with us, remembers us and is mobile, and his assistant and driver, we all went, and he came the last day smashing the car to a garden lamp and screaming at me for causing him to forget his bathing suit. I texted him about bringing in a couple extra towels as the place only had 2 and to remind him to bring his, you guessed it, bathing suit. So that evening I did something I've never done and went through another person's stuff. Came to discover that he has 2 separate bags, one with his hemorrhoids pills and basic pain killers for headache, and the other Valium, bromazepam, oxapane, which I find has oxycodone, tramadol, and Xanax. I had to take pictures to look up what the hell they were for, and yes, he has the highest mg possible for each. I'm just so tired. Tired of having to reason with him, tired of his temper, tired of his acts. He is not the worst husband out there, but I feel like he gets worse and worse. Just this past year, he got physical twice. Not punching or hitting me, but pushing me against the car and squeezing my throat in the daylight of our business place's garage, in front of others, and screaming how I stole $1 million from him. We left the house arguing because he was yelling at our nice cleaning lady for forgetting to put liquid soap in his bath thing, and I gave her a look of, I'm sorry, which he took as me smiling. And his reasoning was that if he didn't say the theft thing, people'd think he is an abuser. Please don't ask why I forgave him. But I'll stick to my ground this time no matter what. It was hard when he was an emotionally unstable person. It's not doable when you add drugs on top of that. So selfish or not, I refuse to be of help or support. I refuse to be a loving and understanding wife. I don't care what we have built together, I'm just ready to leave it all behind. I'll not take anything, money or things. I just want out. Update. Hi all, I did come back here often to read all your comments frequently to stay strong. I hope this is a right way to update. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I can't just get up and leave. The business holds me back, and he clearly told me he'd go after my family if I left work. This isn't the US, this is where a man like him can do harm, especially if I go to the police or the word gets out, so I'll have to handle it calmly. But for anyone with a similar story in different environment, to get up and leave, I'd suggest as well. We don't have kids, also intimacy has been dead for 2 years, which is why it annoys me when he wants reward points for not being a cheater. Like it should be a given already, but I mean, come on. Also, no, he wasn't always like this. I didn't marry this guy. I was 21 when we met, and it was long distance for 2 years, and when we met briefly for weekends he was fun, charming, nice, rarely an argument. Then I moved in and the problems started slowly. Mil was diagnosed, work stress, then COVID, etc. So I just thought bad things were happening to a good guy no matter how mean he got. I even fought back to my mom when she told me to break it off. I thought she didn't know him well enough. And believe me, I did support him. I was there when we had no nurses or maid, taking care of Mil like my own, even pausing school to be there for them. I did all special kinds of birthdays and things to make him feel happy, which was rarely appreciated. I also tried breaking it off before. Moved out for 6 months once because I was at the point of stuttering when speaking. He begged and promised to be a nice person for the whole of 6 months. I couldn't resist and turned my back. The work switch happened after that separation where he pressed me about how we should work together and build this together. I dragged my feet for 2 months to not quit my then job, but relented because I really thought he changed. Didn't take long for him to become worse. So since I can't leave, we still talk about the divorce continuously. He has gone back and forth with being really apologetic to angry. I've taken the advice about being open about the prescription drugs and get him to get help once more, but that went bad. He claimed he had only taken 2 bromazepam since he got them and that he just carries them in case he needs them, so I asked him if I could count it. Only 6 was left of 30. He then screamed he had to because they are good for bowel infections. Then went on this rant about how he'd never hide anything from me, and while doing so revealed other drugs like Vicodin and something else I can't remember, and said, "See, I'm not hiding that I took those and they are way stronger. I mean, what do you say to that?" So I just said okay, my bad. I was worried about it, but I understand I shouldn't have, and he went on and on for a while more about how dare I accuse him of lying, even breaking a plate, then immediately went back to crying and saying he doesn't deserve me leaving him because he loves me so much, while simultaneously asking me work-related mundane questions. I think within November I'll have a place of my own, with my dog of course. But I'll have to be around him, though I doubt I'll see much of him. He made it to the office perhaps a total of 15 times within the past 6 months, and after the talk we had, I don't think he even realizes the situation he got himself into. He is more of a threat to himself than he is to me at this point as I see it. So here was the update. Thank you again to you all so much. You have no idea how much it helped. Considering I almost have no friends outside of co-workers and our driver and his assistant. They are a couple too, and they have invited me to spend the night with them many times after our arguments, dismissing the threat he'd be, which is why I never did, so I'd like to consider them friends. So over 300 people telling me to get it together was really and truly eye-opening. Thank you. And please forgive me for not replying to each and every one of you, but I'll once I'm at a better place. Story 4, I'm genuinely fed up. An honest vent. It's my birthday today. I'm now a 39-year-old male, so you'd think I wouldn't need to come to an anonymous site to vent, but hey ho, here I am. No card from the wife, no present from the wife. No small present bought by the wife so the kids can give me something you open in front of them, and no card drawn by the kids the night before, which is the usual staple. Not even a cup of tea made for me once they all woke up. For the kids, understandable, her sister, her mom, her friends, she will plan things days in advance. For me, I'm an afterthought. Scroll through my messages between us and it requests for cash and to pick up various things from shops coming from her, and compliments or outright naughty messages from my side, anything to try and get a response. Now before people say, she's not feeling underappreciated, I do all the cooking, sorting school uniforms, and I tidy once we both have got the kids to bed. Yes, I've screwed up in the past, but I'm a constant source of reassurance and cash flow now, it seems. I guess I'm just feeling undervalued and unnoticed. What a day. Edit. It's now 6:30 p.m. I've just got home from work and I thought I'd put this before I go inside. Thank you for all the comments and thoughts. I promise I will reply to each and every one. It just may be in a few hours. I'll update again later with the common answers that a lot of people want, like what did I do in the past, etc. Truly thank you all. Second edit. While this post blew up a lot more than I thought it would, thank you to everyone again who reached out with kind words. It's genuinely so nice to see others lifting strangers without looking for something in return. Now to clear up a few points, I will still reply to all comments, but some will copy/paste the answer from this bit probably. 1.to make it crystal clear, I wasn't solely annoyed that my birthday wasn't acknowledged via some big fanfare. This is the state of play on a daily basis, and I was mildly put out by the fact that things didn't briefly change on the morning of my birthday. 2. What I have done in the past. As in all relationships, we have our ups and downs, sure, and as the relationship is growing and evolving, lines are drawn. We both have spoken to people online from our past in a friendly capacity that the other partner was not keen on, resulting in discussions and stopping of communication. I've never forgotten a birthday or anniversary, and the presents I get for her are most of the time pretty damn good. Case in point, I've bought tickets to shows/gigs a number of times she's really wanted to go to. I have forgotten appointments or not booked time off for appointments, and we have our day-to-day grievances but no cheating, etc. 3. We have been married 5 years and together 7. I know I paint her as the bad guy, but she does do stuff around the house too. She is very child-focused, so she knows all their appointments, what's coming up at school next, etc., which is fantastic, and she's a great mother, would never say otherwise. Story 5, found out my girlfriend cheated on me tonight. I, male, 22. Have never snooped through her, 22, phone, ever. But tonight I just got this weird feeling that I should. I found it suspicious because for some time she rarely used Snapchat around me anymore. And so I snooped, and what did I find? Some guy she's had history with in the past Snapchatting her. I confront her when she comes back downstairs and ask her why. She said it was just casual, but I get suspicious. They had an 112-day streak, and were each other's best friends on Snapchat. Meaning they snap each other the most out of their other friends. I ask if she ever flirted with him. She said no. I ask why she didn't tell me. She said she was scared. I tell her I don't believe she never flirted, so I need to look through their chats. And what do I find? Him sending her heart eyes, him calling her a MILF, and other flirtatious behavior from him. She claims she never said anything back. But due to the nature of Snapchat, that stuff gets deleted unless you manually save it. So I'll never know. I leave her house and start driving around. For so long she was hiding it from me. I would have never known about any of it. She calls me while I'm driving, so I pull over and park. I start yelling 'cause I'm pissed. I ask her to give me her Snapchat username and password. I go on it, to find that in March 2023, so a year ago, she told him, if everything happens for a reason, maybe our paths will cross in the future. So she lied about not flirting with him. To give that context, in January of 2023 our relationship hit a major rough patch. But that was definitely sorted out by March of 2023. I can't believe that was just it. And I guess he Snapchatted her first, confessing still has feelings for her. That's what she replied to him. I really love her and I can't believe this is happening. I don't know what to do. I wish this never happened. We've been together for 3 years and she's made me such a better man. I'm sorry for the long post, I'm just so lost. I love her and I wish this never happened. I want to be able to trust her. I just have a hunch I'm not getting the full story. I really need words of encouragement. Story 6, got cheated on, while pregnant by my boyfriend, with my new friend. Years later and I'm still messed up about it. I've known him since I was 13, we were always friends and kept in touch throughout the years, no matter what city we lived in. Growing up, we always liked each other at mismatched times, but kept the friendship and grew our connection. Skip 2, I'm 27 and bump into him at a sports bar after recently moving back to my hometown. Start of a wonderful relationship. We were both feeling it, communicating, growing, up all night talking, having amazing sex, missing each other, laughing all the time, everything is right and easy. Skip 2, a couple years later, I'm newly pregnant, we're excited, we just decided to move in together, things are still great, he's been talking about getting married, feeling me out. Then in the midst of this, she tells me they've been having an affair for almost a year. I did not see it coming. Heartbroken. Cried for weeks. He can't give me a real reason. Says he doesn't know why he jeopardized what we have. Says she kept coming on to him and he eventually gave in. She confirmed and apologized. Skip 2, I moved out immediately, had my little guy and did it mostly on my own. I adore my son and love being a mom. The dad comes around, and is great with our son, but he also respects my space when I ask for it. A year and a half later and I'm still struggling mentally. I still can't sleep. I try to go to bed and a thought pops in my head about the affair, I start crying, almost automatically, and have to go downstairs and keep myself busy to get my mind off of it. I stay up until the sun comes up, and then I nap until my son wakes up. I'm still heartbroken. I've become very spiritual in trying to heal my soul. It's a hard but beautiful path. The dad is still in my life and sometimes tries to get me back, I'm up and down about it, there is so much resentment. I have no idea if he's been loyal to me since and we don't talk about it. Found out she was sleeping with my friend's dad, knowing he's a married man. I can't stand this chick. I was triggered today in finding out that she has a new boyfriend who she is engaged to. I'm upset. I'm jealous. I'm vengeful. My first thought was that I was going to seduce him and show her how much it hurts. But I am not that person. I would never put anyone else through this. But I'm still mad. Why does she deserve happiness and love when I'm still struggling despite my constant, daily effort to love myself, heal, and forgive? I'm a social worker and after COVID is over, I'm going to be starting my own business running and offering themed support groups, art therapy workshops, and personal counseling. I have a pure heart. I am beautiful, confident, independent, an amazing mom. Why am I still so shook? Why does my heart still sink every time someone brings her up? Moral of the story, please consider how cheating can affect someone before doing it. It really messed me up. I lost myself. I'll never be the same person again. If you got this far, thank you for reading. If you've been through something similar, my heart goes out to you. Any insight to my state of being is welcome and appreciated. Story 7, my husband cheated and I'm not okay. I found out 3 weeks ago that while I was sick, I have a disability, so I had a rough patch for a bit. He started a relationship with another woman. He told her we were broken up, didn't tell her we were married. Just that I was his GF, and that I was still hang up on him, and that's why she could hear me crying in the background while they hang out. The real reason I was crying was because I felt like something was happening with this woman, but he gaslighted for a month. Made me feel like I was crazy. He kept saying they were just friends and that he couldn't help me get over my jealousy. He even told me I needed to go to therapy and work on it. I had to go back to feeling 100% in a flash because I felt like my marriage was in trouble. But even though I suspected, nothing could have prepared me for the gut punch I got when I read his messages with her and found out the truth. Since then, we have discussed everything and decided to try and salvage our marriage. He's incredibly remorseful, or so he seems, and has blocked her on everything. I now have full access to all of his devices too. But, I'm devastated. I can't find the right words to describe the pain I feel. I did everything for this man. I stood by him for years of undiagnosed mental health issues and mood swings. I found him a therapist and a psychiatrist. I was by his side calling hundreds of pharmacies when his meds weren't available. I was there whoever he had panic attacks or just needed help dealing with life. And then I got worse for a couple of months, and not only did he leave me to deal with everything myself, he also cheated and spent that whole month treating me like trash. I love him. I know he made a mistake, but I can't help how I feel. And I have no space to grieve anything here. Because the second I say I'm sad about what happened, everything becomes about him. How he feels like a monster and that he should just kill himself. And then I have to comfort him instead. I have no space to process all of this. I feel like I can't even be sad or feel like I feel. His therapist told him, my needs should come first, at least for the time being, and he got upset about it. He said therapy should be about him. But that he agreed with her that my feelings should come first for now. But I'm never first. The other day, we were having a nice moment and I said I just wanted him to be happy and that would make me happy, and he used this word I never heard before. Compression. I didn't know what it meant. I googled it. It's used in polyamorous relationships. His mistress was poly. I got upset and I told him how dare use a word his fucking mistress taught him with me. And he said his therapist told him. I told him he was lying, because why would his therapist use that word after he told her he cheated on me? It's still being thrown in my face that I didn't believe him. Why should I believe you? You're a liar and I don't trust you. I am hurting so much. I just wish I could talk to someone about this. Story 8. I discovered that my daughter-in-law is moonlighting as a sex worker. I have no idea how to tell my son. Part 1. I am a mother of 3. My husband, Claude, male, 60, and I both come from old money. Our families are very wealthy and have been for over a century. We had a lot in common when we first met in our teens. Each of us was an only child, and each of us kind of found the culture of our lives to be embarrassing and snobby. We didn't end up dating until our early 20s, but it was very much for love. Our parents all passed over a 10-year span when we were in our late 20s to mid-30s. As the only heirs to the estates of 2 prominent families, we became very, very wealthy with the combined inheritance. In addition, my husband has done very well managing the estates, investments, and businesses of our families for the last 30 years. Not being one to just sit around drinking tea and looking pretty, I got into the real estate market. Which I admit is something that is easier to do when you already have tons of disposable cash on hand. I now own numerous properties on the West Coast that turn nice profits. We instilled a lot of value towards hard work into our 3 children. We both agreed before we got married was, just because we are rich, doesn't mean we should be useless. Obviously, just like we were, our children were extremely privileged. However, we tried to mirror a typical childhood experience. They had chores, they were required to get jobs once they were teens. Yes, they had new expensive cars, yes, they went to top private schools, but we did our best to make sure they didn't turn out like our friends. I put that in quotes because Claude and I always air quoted when we said friends while growing up. So many of them were beyond helpless. It was honestly sad, and needless to say many have gone from helpless to worthless as adults. Our oldest son Byron, 33, has become a successful lawyer. He married his longtime girlfriend Ming about 4 years ago. Our middle child was our only daughter, Darcy, 30. She is still single and has gone into a number of philanthropies that we are very proud of. Our youngest son, Damien, 27, is my concern in writing this. 7 years ago he met his now wife, Kylie, 27, while he was in college. They have provided us our only grandchild, male, free. Unlike our older children that chose to go to traditional Ivy League schools, he elected to go to San Diego State University. This was fine, it was his choice. He has always been his own person. He was different from the other two. They always seemed to embrace the expectations. Always very much fit the mold you expect of people born into this kind of life. Damien did not. He was quieter, yet sure of himself. I remember when he was very young he rarely ever cried for any reason. As he grew up it seemed like he was often the center of attention, yet he needed none of that. I often thought he could be just as happy in a room of his 10 closest friends or completely alone for a week. Damien went into a tech field, and now works as a software developer. He obviously wants for nothing with millions in his trust, but I find it refreshing that he lives the way he chooses to, and not by the degree someone of his status is expected. Kylie, for being a regular girl, has fit in very well with our family. I've always said Damien really lucked out with her. She is the most charming, kind woman. She always seems absolutely obsessed with Damien. They have so many common interests, and she is beautiful on top of that. Kylie never disappoints when with the family either. She takes a real interest in all of us and can't wait to dive into anything we have planned. She has been a very quick study at society events too, always impressing, which I know can be hard when you don't grow up in it. Our grandson is just the sweetest little boy and I love him so much. This is also what makes the news I received so hurtful. I recently had a friend visit me that I had not seen in person in a few years. It was really nice catching up, because the last time I saw her was nearly 4 years ago when she got divorced from her husband after 34 years of marriage. We didn't really talk about what happened then, but I do know that she had discovered her husband was a frequent customer of an escort service. During her visit with me we mostly just got caught up on our current lives, but towards the end of the visit the conversation did turn towards her ex-husband. There was definitely some lingering bitterness there. As she talked it turned to sadness. She expressed it's been really hard on her because she knows she never looked like the girls he was paying for. She had even found some of their pictures on her ex-husband's computer. She pulled her phone out, a few tears forming, and opened her photos. They were like advertisements. These were what the escort agency sent for clients to choose from. She scrolled through a few holding the phone so I could see. I didn't really want to see. As she was venting, saying, "How was I supposed to compete with that?" I was mostly trying to console my friend, one because I knew this had to be hard, but also because I knew she would be embarrassed having shown so much emotion. That was until I noticed the tattoo. I stopped my friend scrolling. There were only 3 or 4 pictures she had gone through. The girl in this picture looked exactly like Kylie, well at least like she looked when she was 20 to 21 years old. That would have been around the time her and Damien met, maybe their first year of dating. I could have rationalized the similar appearance. Sometimes people just look a lot alike. However, in the picture, you could just barely see part of the same Bulbasaur tattoo that Kylie has on her inner bicep. It has to be her, I'm sure of it. I don't want to ruin my son's marriage. Maybe he knows about this part of her past. I won't judge. I swore a long time ago that I wouldn't become one of those people. It's just that this photo could very well be from when they were dating, and I feel my son has a right to know. I don't want him to get hurt if something comes out later. I think the best course is for me to do a little private detective work and figure out if this is all in the past, how far in the past, and to what extent. Then I can go to my son with all the information. Part 2. I have found out so much disturbing information since I started digging into my son's marriage. I feel guilty for doing so, but what started out as just trying to confirm whether or not my daughter-in-law was an escort, has taken on a life of its own. I hired a private investigator to figure out if Kylie was still performing this kind of work. I had him follow her for 2 weeks and he reported back that she did not meet with any other men or women during that span of time, other than a girlfriend she had lunch with 2 or 3 times. There was nothing there, yet the PI had told me he expected there was going to be. The very first night after I hired him, he went to scope out their house. He said he was just making observations when he saw Kylie come out the door with Grand. She got into her car and drove to a very nice townhouse in an affluent part of the city. The PI told me he was sure she was there to meet some older married men. He has seen this kind of thing play out this way numerous times. He watched for 2 days as Kylie and Grand stayed at this place. No one else came or went from the residence except the two of them. They went to a park and played on the playground, and went to get food twice. He said he was sure no one else was there. In the 2 weeks he observed her, 8 of the nights she stayed at this townhouse, and she spent all of each Monday there. I decided to look into this residence and discovered Kylie owns this place. It is her place, in her name alone. This has me somewhat alarmed as I am wondering if Damien and Kylie are having some sort of marital problems. I have doubts on that though, as it appears Kylie bought this place 4 years ago, 1 year after they got married and 2 years before they had Grand. Which leads me to my next glaring red flag. They are not legally married. They had a wedding. I was there. It was a big expensive wedding. They signed the standard prenup beforehand. The only thing that was different was instead of the family lawyer handling it, Damien hired a friend of his from high school. He was a young practicing attorney and Damien said it would be a big boon to his good friend if he got to handle a high-end client, so we didn't fight him on it. I did have our people take a look at the prenup, and they said it was pretty standard. How are they not married? My PI said it looks like they just never filed the paperwork. If they didn't want to be married, that was fine. We are not a religious family. No one would have judged, no one that mattered anyway. Why all this secrecy? That only fueled my desire to get to the bottom of this more. I hired some people that are good at finding things. It's not the first time I've done so in my lifetime, and I have the means. It may not be exactly legal, but the people I employ are very discreet and very professional. They were able to obtain Damien's financial records. I obviously had the ones that related to the estate, but they got his personal records as well as Kylie's taxes and income statements. Her taxes indicate that she made around $400,000 each of the last 3 years. She is a stay-at-home mom. Her tax statement lists her as a self-employed interior designer. I have never heard her mention being an interior designer. Also, within the records, there were 3 large money transfers over the last 6 years. 2 for $750K, and 1 for $500K. They go from his trust, to their joint account, to Kylie's personal account. With all of this, I was suspicious enough to bring it to my husband Claude's attention. He has always been level-headed and understanding. I was very surprised when he told me to just drop it and stay out of their business. He even had a bit of a sharp tone when he told me this that caught me off guard. This got under my skin a bit and I bit back. Eventually he said to me, "Just stop. You don't know everything. What they do with their money is their business, and what they choose to do in the privacy of their own lives is their business. They are all happy and so are we. There is no reason to rock the boat." I admit I got a little bit irrational here, as I knew he was hiding something from me. We fought a little bit more about it and I walked away from him. Upset, I made a rash decision and drove over to Damien and Kylie's home intent on confronting them. They have a nice big house but nothing over the top. I let myself in the side door, which was a mistake. They didn't hear me come in, and when I walked into the living area I saw Kylie cleaning the house, completely naked. Damien was sitting on the couch watching her, and enjoying the show. I screamed, "Oh my God." They both freaked out as well. Damien quickly tried to cover up, and Kylie turned to head out the room, but before doing so, in a panicked voice asked Damien, "Should I cover up?" Which he quickly replied, "Yes, please do so, baby." Damien popped up, rightfully agitated with me. He was heated until Kylie came back out in a robe. She smoothed everything over, even made a little joke about getting a sign that says, "Roleplay in progress," to hang on the door. I didn't say anything about what I learned. I was far too embarrassed. It was hours later when the whole scene began to cause me some suspicion. I don't care if they are being kinky. I may be 57, but I've done my share of kinky, and still do sometimes, so that is what it is. I just wish I hadn't walked in on it. What bothers me is what she said after I walked in. Why did she ask him if she could cover up? That seems obvious. What kind of dynamic do they have that she would need to ask in that situation? All of this has me going back and forth between what my husband said and what I feel I need to do. I tried to get it out of him again, but he said, Damien trusted him with this, and he asked me not to share it with you, to spare your feelings. I know Darcy has done the same with you over the years, especially when she was in high school and college. I never held that against you or asked you to betray your trust. I ask that you respect and trust me when it comes to this matter. I will do that. I will not press him, but that does not mean that I will not press our son for the truth. Part 3. It took a couple weeks to actually get my son Damien alone and ask him what was going on with him and his wife. My husband was right. I should have just left it alone. It took some poking, it took me showing all the evidence I had acquired. Initially Damien thought that his father Claude had let it slip. I assured him that was not the case. Quite the opposite actually. Eventually he told me everything. Kylie is not a former escort. When he told me that, I felt this relief wash over me. It was very short-lived. She is a current escort. She is his escort. Their entire relationship is just a business transaction. He pays her $177.15 an hour. The $500K transfer was a wedding bonus. Grand was what Damien bought for the $750K 3 years ago. They sat down and negotiated the price of producing a grandchild. Damien wants a second child, which is what the most recent $750K is for. I'm sure I had the dumbest look on my face while he was telling me all this. I can't wrap my head around it, it's absolutely insane. It all makes sense though. Her income and tax filings. The townhouse she owns. The fact that she spends less than half the nights at their home. She's off the clock. I asked so many questions about their whole dynamic and Damien was surprisingly forthcoming. If she is there with him or at his house, she is on the clock. If she is doing anything with any part of the extended family, she is on the clock. Basically anytime she is pretending to be a member of our family, she is on the clock. She gets to keep any gift she receives from anyone. Damien will keep their house, as if they all live there full time. Basically food she likes will be on hand, she will have hygiene products there, etc. During the time she is on the clock, she is available to him at any time. They make a 2-week schedule of when she will stay overnight. If he wants to change this and have her stay overnight on an unplanned evening, he can request this, but she has the option of refusal. This is just the regular everyday stuff. Vacations, family gatherings, and other special events are all assumed time in which Kylie will attend unless they are on unreasonably short notice. When it comes to Grand, they both consider him their child and love him. They look at it like it's co-parenting. She has primary custody and is with him almost full time. They do employ a nanny as well for when they are both busy or Kylie needs a break. Damien assures me she sees Grand as her child and will never give up custody of him. I strangely believe this, as everything I have ever seen is that she is a wonderful mother. I asked what will happen if their arrangement ends. Damien said, then we will continue on, similar to amicably divorced parents who maintain a friendship. Neither of us wants him to be without both of his parents. There was so much more to it. I didn't get too much in the personal part because it was weird for both of us. He did answer the billion-dollar question. Why? It all started during his junior year of college. Damien was always popular. He keeps to himself, but when you're rich and handsome you will attract attention. He told me he always dated, contrary to what everyone thinks about him, he does want to be with someone special. He told me every time he had a girlfriend, it would always come back to what he could give them. Every time he began to sense they were after something else. Which I know, when you have the wealth that we do, you always attract this type of person. Then, a friend put him onto the escort service. They were very discreet. That is how he met Kylie. Kylie apparently offered something called a girlfriend experience. I guess normally there are a lot of rules surrounding what you can and can't do with an escort. When you pay for the girlfriend experience, you get the treatment a regular boyfriend might get. I kind of regret asking what that meant, but essentially unprotected sex, kissing, deep conversations, etc. I did ask if he got tested, and he told me they both did before starting that initial arrangement. After about a month of this, Damien said he was really enjoying their relationship. He offered her the deal, which was to make that girlfriend experience a full-time job. He agreed to the term of $100 an hour back then, that would increase each year that they kept the arrangement going. He would provide for all necessities and accommodations during their time together. She would be available as much as possible and accompany him to family functions, work events, etc. He told me she is very professional and puts in the effort to learn how to interact with our socioeconomic class. When I asked about the major life events, he just told me he wanted to get married and have kids. She was willing to do this for the appropriate price. He knows they are legally married, but he got to have the wedding he always wanted, and said it was nice because for once he got to be the first kid to reach a milestone. He likes their relationship. Damien said, "It's amazing, everyone gets what they want. I got the marriage I always wanted without all the drama and turmoil that comes with it. She is the perfect partner every hour of every day. She has been a part of our lives for 7 years. I just can't believe this whole time it was just a job." I am heading out now to have a real conversation with Kylie about all of this. My son made her aware of my knowledge in this matter. I'm hoping to see the real Kylie during this conversation and not just the perfect daughter-in-law part that she plays. Part 4. I met with Kylie recently, and I suppose I feel better about the whole situation. Not a lot better, but it is what it is. I took her out to eat at a very nice bistro in the city. The nanny watched grand. I didn't even know where to start, which is what I said to her. She said, "You can start wherever you want, Jerry. Damien is paying me for this and has instructed me to answer anything you ask 100% truthfully." That gave me a gross feeling, like we were doing an interrogation or a business deal. I asked her, "Do you love my son? Do you even like him? Is it all just business? Because I'm having a really hard time coming to terms with the idea that it's all business between you two." Kylie answered, "I genuinely do like him. He is a sweet guy, and funny. Oddly respectful of me even after 7 years. Our agreement allows him to, do what he wants, but he always asks how I'm doing. Like he wants me to be comfortable, so that's nice." I felt really bad talking about their sex life. That was just weird, but at the same time proud that my son still believed in boundaries and consent. It was a strange moment. She continued on, "I still keep my distance, because it's like a business transaction. He pays me to be what he wants, and I provide that. I don't want to get too attached. Make sure to keep some distance. That's one of the reasons I have my own place. He offered years ago to cover an apartment for me when I wasn't at work. I said no, because that's still his place. The townhouse is mine. So there are no emotions, it's just co-workers." Kylie, no, although that might be a good way of putting it. More like close work friends. He wants that girlfriend experience, but without any of the bad parts. I give him that, which sometimes means I make myself emotionally vulnerable. And it is nice when he comforts me. He shares his thoughts and feelings with me too. I do my best to empathize and help him with them. We almost always cuddle after sex, and I like that. It is nice. But, what do you want for yourself? Don't you want to find love, and your own life? Is that woman we met actually your own mother, or was that some actress or something? You have made a fortune already, you don't have to keep doing this. Why don't you find your own happiness?" Kylie, I am happy, I'm thankful for everything. No, I won't keep doing this forever. But it's been good so far. My mother was a single mom who did everything she could to take care of me. I don't have any siblings. My bio dad disappeared when I was months old. Yes, that is my mom, and she knows everything. She thinks Damien is great and keeps hoping to hear we are going for real. I interrupted, and she is okay with all of this. Kylie, she doesn't like it, but also understands. When I was young she did what she could to support us. I didn't know it then, but we were really poor. When I was 11 I saw my mom doing something I wasn't supposed to see. I didn't bring it up until I was 15 and she didn't freak out or anything, she just told me the truth. She webcam to make ends meet. She would get up at 6 every day and help me get ready, go to her regular job, come home and take care of me, go to bed and sleep when I did for 2 or 3 hours, get up and webcam from midnight until 2 or 3 in the morning, go back to bed and sleep until 6, then do it all over again. She did that for years. When I graduated high school, I took loans and went to college. It was really hard. I had no money. I saw an ad promising $1,500 to $2,000 for 3 hours of work. I looked into it and it was for adult film. I ended up doing it, and they ripped me off. I was handed an envelope with $200 in it, and they just left. I looked over the contract and felt so stupid. It said, up to $1,500 in compensation. I got this uneasy look on my face and said, "There's a film of you out there." Kylie said in a sad tone, "Yes, I haven't ever found it online. I go looking for it sometimes, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I used a fake name and didn't have my tattoos yet, plus I was barely 18 then and probably looked even younger. They were a small sleazy studio. I doubt they had many people watching their stuff. I'm sorry, I'm really ashamed of that. She got a little teary-eyed at that, so I took her hand and told her it was okay. She didn't have to tell me anything she didn't want to. She shook her head and continued, "No, it's fine. I felt really bad afterwards and was still struggling financially. I had a friend who had put me on with the escort agency. She was doing it and knew I could use the money. The agency was really impressive. It ran like a legit business and was really discreet. I only had 2 clients before I met Damien. They were both way older, and it was kind of gross, but the money was good. Damien was so different. First off, he was my age, and secondly, he was looking for more than just a quick fuck. Oh my god, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be like, so. It's okay, go ahead. Kylie, well, he liked me, and I felt safer with him, so I offered the girlfriend experience. He really liked the sound of that. After a month of just doing that a night here and there, he made his move. She said that with a laugh. He offered me a deal I couldn't even believe, basically being his paid full-time girlfriend. Did you keep seeing other clients? Kylie, oh no, from the moment Damien hired me the first time, I have been his exclusively. He was booking me 3 to 4 times a week early on, mostly for that housekeeping fantasy of his. Oh my god, sorry TMI. She must have noticed me wince. It's okay, and what, the rest is history. Kylie, yeah, pretty much. I am sorry for all this, neither of us meant to hurt anyone. I know finding out about the wedding and the relationship and everything, has to be a lot. Trying to sound as reassuring as possible, I said, it is, but I am trying to have an open mind here. Part of me wants to lash out, but I don't think that would help anything. However, you never answered my question. What do you want for your life? Kylie, I will probably only do this for a few more years. I would like to meet someone to grow old with. I do not date, I stay faithful to our arrangement. I don't know what the future holds for Damien and I. We will always be in each other's lives because of Grant, but I don't know if he will ever want more than what he has now. That is fair. I won't give my opinion because I think I have butted myself into your lives enough. Is there anything else you would like to get off your chest before we call it a day? Kylie paused for a moment and said, I'm not really a horse person. I didn't know anything about them until Damien told me you liked horses. I studied, because I'm supposed to make all of you like me. I do enjoy it when you take me to those shows though, that's real. I had a bemused smirk upon my face and she continued on, I really dislike onions, and your whole family has onions in everything. I don't bring this up because I'm supposed to be pleasant all the time, but I really don't like onions. I made a mental note of this. Finally, I said, anything else? I assumed that would be it, or maybe one more silly thing. She took a deep breath and said, yes, I'm pregnant. Epilogue. Very unconventional beginning, but I guess in the end it's what you make of it. It definitely isn't a traditional love story. It was a little weird the first time she wasn't just pleasant and accommodating to everyone, but I appreciated the authentic Kylie anyway. I mean, it's hard to feel negatively towards a woman who has given you 4 amazing grandkids. I like to think I had something to do in making this possible, but maybe I'm just being arrogant. After Simon was born, Damien asked her if they could try for real. She said yes, and moved exclusively into her townhouse. They dated for almost a full year before actually getting legally married and moving back in together. There was not a second wedding or anything, just filing the paperwork. We have never let anyone else know the truth about how their relationship started and never will, not even Damien's siblings. Even if they found out, I would never let them say one word negative to either of them, especially since Byron is now divorced and Darcy is still single 10 years later. I feel like when those are your circumstances, you don't really have the right to judge somebody else's relationship. There hasn't been one bit of serious drama in that time. Damien got used to Kylie speaking her mind pretty quickly and realized a great relationship has both good and bad. He even admitted to his father, who told me, that he didn't realize all the good things he was missing out on when he was just paying for his version of an ideal partner. Little Cammy, who is 5 now, is my little horse girl. The boys are coming into their own more and more each time I see them. Kylie just had their 4th, another boy they named Sander, 6 months ago. Honestly, through it all, the biggest adjustment was scaling back on the onions. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give a like, share it with someone, and subscribe for more stories that inspire, provoke, and connect us. Thank you.